Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. We'll have a bit of a chat while I go for a walk around the coast here in central Portugal. A rainy central Portugal today. A little bit cool, a little bit damp, a bit of drizzle going on currently, and the weather is more like Wales than the Iberian Peninsula. But it is what it is. Now I'm out and about today with my loyal companion Mia, who's having a bit of a sniff around. Got to be careful because there's a bit of rubbish on the ground over there. We don't want her eating a stray serviette. Mia doesn't like the wet weather very much, so she's not too keen to be out and about currently. But what can we do with this Atlantic weather? As we can see there, the Atlantic Ocean, not very good visibility today. Probably can only see about 2 or 3 kilometers, so a bit wet and rainy here on the Atlantic. And it's funny because the debate is raging in Spain at the moment about the temperature that air conditioning machines need to be set at, and here in this part of Portugal you don't need air conditioning at all, or at least that has been my experience over the last 12 years or so that I have been coming to this part of the world. So what is all the debate about? Well, as I mentioned the other day, the Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez announced last Friday that the government was going to introduce a series of measures to establish minimum temperatures when it comes to air conditioning. And 27 degrees Celsius is the legal limit that you can set your air conditioning to if you run a business, if you work in a government institution, but of course it doesn't apply to private homes, private residences and the like. But I think the idea, if I'm not mistaken, is that if the government sets an example, if shops set an example, the idea would be that people in their own homes also start to put that limit at 27 degrees Celsius rather than the 22, 23, 24 degrees that most people have their air conditioning set at, I think. Now, I mentioned yesterday that in Madrid we don't have air conditioning, so it's not going to affect me. I was thinking of putting an air conditioning unit in, and to be honest, I probably still will put that air conditioning unit in because this summer in Spain has been unbearable. Here it's not the case. Very cool here, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, but air conditioning definitely needed in a country like Spain, given the heat waves. And of course, as I said, with these new measures comes controversy. One of the regions, Madrid, has said that they are not going to adhere to the new rules and regulations, especially when it comes to turning shop lights out at 10 o'clock, another way that the government hopes will save energy. And all of this is being done, of course, because the government has said to Brussels that it is going to cut back on energy by around 7%, not the 15% that Brussels wanted. 7%, I think, is the agreement, and Spain and both Portugal, I believe, are going to try to save 7% energy this year and next year as well. Portugal, from what I have read, hasn't yet announced any measures. The press is getting stuck into the government because of that, for being a bit slow when it comes to announcing measures. But Spain has already done so, and as I said, it has divided opinion. I put a poll on yesterday's video asking the question, is it a good idea to limit air conditioning to 27 degrees Celsius? The community was divided, 52% against, 48% in favour. So fairly divisive topic, I think, and it just goes to show that basically everything nowadays divides society, even something like this. So good idea, bad idea, it depends, I think, which side of the political fence you are on, but it is a government mandate, and businesses have 7 days to adapt to these new rules and regulations. And another thing I think is that businesses have to have their thermostat on display so that clients can see what the temperature of the business is at. It has to be around that 27 degree mark, and if it's lower, I imagine that you can report those businesses to the government. Now, another story that has been dominating Spanish press and international press in recent times is about this body image campaign that Spain's Ministry of Equality launched last week, maybe the week before, and with most things in Spain, again, another controversy. The Equality Ministry thought it would be a good idea to have a campaign like this informing people, telling people that it's okay to go to the beach. It doesn't matter what your body looks like, whether you're thin, fat, short, tall, doesn't matter where you come from also. And they put out this campaign with a series of models on the beach with different body shapes, and thinking that it would be an innocent campaign. How wrong they were. And it didn't take long for the negative feedback to start. Apparently what looked like an innocent advertising campaign, various models sitting on a beach, was not what it seemed. The images were taken from different Instagram accounts without the people in question's permission, and they also used the font without permission. And of course, that's when the problem started. The company that did the campaign was forced to offer an apology, and they posted an apology on Twitter saying that they didn't think that this would happen. They didn't have much time to prepare the campaign, and they said sorry to the people for using those images. And they also changed some of the images as well. Apparently one of the people in the photos had a prosthetic leg. They airbrushed that out, put in a normal leg, and that also has caused controversy. But the debate is, can a government ministry, or should a government ministry, take random pictures off Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, stick them all together in an advertising campaign and make that campaign public? That's the question. I don't think that they should. I think they should have asked for permission, or at least sent an email or a message to these people. The economic compensation's another question as well, because obviously there should be some money exchanging hands if you're using people's images without their permission. Of course, with any normal advertising campaign, money would exchange hands, models would be paid for their time, but this was not the case. So the Spanish government, or the Ministry of Igualdad, has botched this one. CHAPUZA, as they say in Spain. It just goes to show you that this is the way a lot of companies and businesses and governments work in Spain. Everything is rushed. They probably told the agency about the campaign just before summer, and there was no time to organise a proper photo shoot, or at least that's the excuse that this company is giving. So a bit of a stuff up, a bit of a cock up. CHAPUZA, as I said in Spanish. I love that word, chapuza. A person can be a chapuzas. This type of thing is a chapuza. Basically, when you botch something up, it is a chapuza, or you are a chapuzas. And given the fact that I am in Portugal at the moment, I've been watching a fair bit of Portuguese news, and it's incredible to see how similar the news cycles are in both Spain and Portugal. Very similar types of news. The energy crisis, of course. Spain and Portugal are sort of in the same boat when it comes to energy and these reductions in energy. Also problems here with the health system. They're talking about reforming the health system, which is something that they're also talking about in Spain at the moment. Domestic violence, big topic in Spain, big topic here as well. Bushfires, of course, wildfires also on the agenda here. Climate change, a big topic as well. Heat waves. So a very similar news cycle here in Portugal to the one in Spain. Of course, Spain and Portugal have similar governments. They both have socialist governments, left-wing governments. Mr. Costa here in Portugal, Mr. Sanchez in Spain, and of course similar political parties, similar ideas, and that is no doubt why the news cycle is similar. Of course, when it comes to something like a bushfire, that's just something that happens on a daily basis or a weekly basis in both countries, but the other things on the news agenda, quite similar in my opinion. And the final thing I'm going to talk about today is the free public transport that Spain is going to offer as of September. The government also announced a few weeks ago that they were going to give free public transport, or make public transport free on certain lines around the country. Cercanías, which is like an intercity type rail around big cities. You can catch trains to some of the outer suburbs on this Cercanías. They also announced some medium distance routes were also going to be free between cities like Madrid and Cuenca, for example. And the fine details have been published, and it's not what a lot of people thought it was going to be. We saw some of the international press saying that Spain's offering free rail transport, so you can take holidays down there and travel for free on the rail system. That, as I thought back in the day, is not the case, and apparently there are a series of rules and regulations that people will have to adhere to in order to get this free rail travel. And basically it's for people that use these lines a lot. So for example, if you travel every day from Cuenca to Madrid or from Toledo to Madrid, you will be able to take advantage of free transport. But if you're in Spain on holidays and you want to travel from Madrid to Toledo, you're not going to be able to travel for free, because one of the rules is that you have to leave a deposit. I think the deposit is something like 20 euros for this type of route, and for the Cercanías it's around 10 euros, I believe, but don't quote me on those figures. And if you take the same train line on various occasions, I think around 16 or 18 times in a month or over that 3-month period, you'll be able to get your deposit back, the deposit that you leave to begin with, and you will also get the price of those rail journeys refunded by the government. So as I said, if you come down to Spain from the UK, from the States, or any other European country for that matter, and you travel on one of these lines thinking that it's going to be free, that is not the case apparently. Because the government's reasoning for this free rail travel is to help people out that do have to commute long distances, that might have quite an expensive commute, and it's not for tourism purposes. So keep that in mind if you were expecting free transport in Spain as of September. And let's be honest, it makes sense to do it this way, in my opinion. Now the rain's coming in from that direction. As you can see, my glasses are starting to get fairly wet. I'm holding the camera this way so that the lens doesn't get wet, even though this is a GoPro and it is waterproof. I just don't like to have those little drops of rain on the lens. Not a good look in the video, in my opinion. And I'm going to start to wrap the video up because I am getting quite wet here. So questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego, hasta luego. And yes, that's right, the rain got the better of me, unfortunately.